Most killers pray they aren't seen. Lucas Vidal begged for it. He needed the cameras to catch his smile. He needed the waiter to remember his face. Because while he was seemingly sitting comfortably on the high-speed train out of Madrid, his wife was being strangled in Barcelona. It was the perfect, impossible alibi, or so he thought, until a single crumb of bread destroyed him. Before we tear this alibi apart, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a single clue in the files to come. Now let's go back to that Tuesday night in the example district. There is a specific kind of silence that only exists in the homes of the very rich. It's not just quiet, it's airtight. The street noise of Barcelona, the scooters, the tourists, the distant hum of the port doesn't dare to enter. Inside the penthouse studio on Passeig de Gràcia, the air conditioning hummed at a perfect 20 degrees, but I was already sweating. "Don't step on the silk," I muttered to myself, navigating the crime scene. The victim was Elena Valls. To the public, she was a fashion icon, the woman who put Catalan design back on the map. To me, tonight she was just a body cooling on a white marble floor. She was dressed in a sharp tuxedo suit, her feet bare, her heels kicked casually under a glass desk. It looked like she had been comfortable, safe. And then someone had wrapped her own signature scarf, the emerald and gold collection, around her neck and pulled until her eyes burst. "Ugly way to go for someone who sold beauty," said Dr. Aranda, our forensic pathologist. He didn't look up from the body. "Hyoid bone is crushed. She fought, Jordi. Look at the fingernails." I crouched down. Her nails were broken. She had clawed at the silk. "Time?" I asked. "Body temp is dropping fast in this AC, but the liver doesn't lie," Aranda replied. "She was alive at 7:50 p.m. We know this because she sent an email to her lawyer. She was dead by 8:10 p.m. You have a 20-minute window." I stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Below, Barcelona was glittering. A 20-minute window. That was tight. That meant the killer was here, waiting, or she let them in. "No forced entry," my partner, Agent Mark Riera, said from the doorway. He looked annoyed, tapping his phone against his thigh. Riera was younger, sharper with technology, but he lacked the patience for the smell of death. The security system was disarmed by her code at 7 o'clock p.m. and never rearmed. She knew the killer, Jordi. "It's the ex-husband," I said immediately. It wasn't a guess. It was instinct. Lucas Vidal, a gambler, a drinker, a man drowning in debt while his ex-wife swam in millions. He threatened her publicly 3 days ago at the Alm Hotel. Screamed he'd choke the money out of her in front of 20 witnesses. "I know," Riera said. "I remember the report. So pick him up. So break his door down if you have to." Riera didn't move. He let out a long, frustrated sigh. "I can't." I turned around. "Why? Did he lawyer up?" "Worse," Riera said, holding up his tablet. He showed me a live feed from a security camera. It wasn't a grainy ATM cam. It was the crisp HD footage of the Atocha train station in Madrid. "This is time-stamped 7:50 p.m., Riera explained, exactly when Elena was sending her last email. On the screen, Lucas Vidal was clear as day. He was arguing with a ticket inspector at the gate, waving his hands, making a scene. "And here," Riera swiped to the next image, 8:05 p.m. This is inside the AVE train cafeteria. He's buying a gin and tonic. We have the credit card transaction." I stared at the screen. The man on the video was Lucas, same receding hairline, same arrogant posture. "He's in Madrid?" I asked, the headache starting to throb behind my eyes. "He left Madrid at 8 p.m., Riera corrected. "He is currently on the AVE, moving at 300 kilometers an hour towards us. He won't arrive at Sant Station for another 2 hours." I looked back at the dead woman on the floor. strangled in Barcelona at 8:00 p.m., ordering a drink in Madrid at 8:05 p.m., distance 600 kilometers. It's a magic trick, I whispered. He's mocking us. He made a scene at the station so we would have to look at the footage. Jefe, it's a solid alibi, Riera warned. We can't touch him. No, I grabbed my coat. It's not an alibi, it's a performance. And every actor messes up their lines eventually. We're going to the station to welcome him home. The AVE train station at Barcelona Sants is less like a transport hub and more like a cathedral of concrete and echo. At 10:30 p.m., it was still humming with the restless energy of the city. Tourists dragging rolling suitcases, tired businessmen loosening their ties, the robotic voice on the PA system announcing arrivals from Madrid, Seville, and Paris. Riera and I stood on platform 3. The air smelled of ozone and hot brakes. He's in coach 1, seat 4A, Riera said, checking his phone. Business class, of course. Let him step off, I instructed. I want to see his face before he sees ours. A man who just killed his wife has a specific look. It's a mix of relief and terror. If he's innocent, he'll look tired. If he's guilty, he'll look ready. The train glided in like a white bullet, hissing as the hydraulic pressure released. The doors slid open. Lucas Vidal was one of the first to step onto the platform. He was wearing a navy blazer, pressed jeans, and brown leather loafers that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. He was carrying a sleek leather weekender bag. He didn't look terrified. He didn't look tired. He looked energized. He scanned the platform, not with fear, but with expectation. When his eyes locked onto my badge, his shoulders dropped. Not in defeat, but in a relaxed posture. He was waiting for us. Lucas Vidal! I approached him. Is something wrong? His voice was smooth, practiced. I assume this is about the alimony payments? I told my lawyer. Elena is dead, I said flatly. I watched his pupils. They didn't dilate. He didn't stumble. What? A pause. A calculated beat of silence. Dead? How? I just saw her last week. Murdered. Rera stepped in, moving to flank him. Tonight, in her studio. Jesus. Lucas put a hand to his forehead. It was a good performance, breathless and shocked, but his hand wasn't shaking. That's impossible. Who did it? Was it a robbery? We're taking you to the Lecourt station, I said, grabbing his arm. Now. Wait, Lucas pulled back, his tone hardening instantly. Am I under arrest? Because if I am, I want my lawyer, and if I'm not, I'm walking out of here. I just got off a 3-hour train ride, Inspector. Unless you think I can teleport, I wasn't in Barcelona tonight. Just come with us, I growled. The interrogation room at the Lecourt Comisaria is designed to make you feel small. Gray walls, a metal table bolted to the floor, and a mirror that everyone knows is one-way glass. But Lucas Vidal sat there like he owned the building. I boarded the train at Atocha at 7:50 p.m., Lucas said, leaning back. I have the ticket on my phone. I have the credit card receipt for the gin and tonic I bought at 8:15 p.m. I have the receipt for the sandwich I ate at 9:00 p.m. I spoke to the steward. His name was Manuel. Nice kid. Ask him. I looked at Riera through the glass. He nodded and held up a file. He had already called the train company. I walked out to the hallway. Well? It's tight, Jordi. Riera looked worried. We interviewed the steward, Manuel. He remembers Lucas perfectly. Apparently, Lucas made a huge fuss about the Wi-Fi signal in business class. He stood up, shouted a bit, demanded to speak to a manager. Then, 20 minutes later, he apologized and gave the steward a €20 tip. He made a scene, I said, rubbing my chin. Why? To be remembered, Riera said. And the CCTV confirms it. We see him boarding. We see him sitting in seat 4A. We see him getting off here. He never left the train. It's a 2.5-hour non-stop trip, I said. He couldn't jump off and jump back on? I went back into the room. Lucas was checking his fingernails. You really hated her, didn't you? I asked, sitting down opposite him. I didn't like her, Lucas admitted. She was greedy. She ruined my reputation. But hate? Hate takes energy, Inspector. I just wanted my share of the business. You threatened to kill her 3 days ago. I threatened to choke the life out of her bank account, Lucas corrected, smiling thinly. Figure of speech. Look, I know how this looks. The angry ex, the threats. But looking guilty isn't the same as being guilty. I was on the train. Unless I have a twin brother who can fly, I didn't kill her. He threw that line out casually. Unless I have a twin brother. He laughed at his own joke. I didn't laugh. We had to let him go at 2:00 a.m. We had no physical evidence linking him to the scene, and we had a mountain of digital and human evidence placing him 600 kilometers away. As he walked out of the station, I stood by the window, watching him hail a taxi. He looked lighter, bouncier. He looked like a man who had just pulled off the greatest magic trick of his life. He did it, I said to the empty room. I don't care about the train. He did it. Riera walked in, holding a fresh stack of papers. I found something, Jordi. You were right about the money. The gambling debts? Worse. Riera laid the papers on the table. Lucas didn't just owe money to casinos. He borrowed 200,000 euros from a prestamista loan shark group operating out of the Raval. The kind of guys who don't send letters. They send people with hammers. I read the report. The deadline for the payment was tomorrow. If Elena was alive, Riera explained, Lucas gets nothing. But with her dead, even if they divorced, there's a clause in her company bylaws. If she dies without a new will and she never updated it, he still holds a 15% founder's share that matures upon death. How much is it worth? 4 million euros. I slammed my hand on the table. That's it. That's the motive. He had to kill her tonight. If he missed the deadline tomorrow, the loan sharks would kill him. He was a dead man walking. But he was on the train, Jordi, Riera shouted, losing his composure. I watched the video myself. I saw him eat the sandwich. I saw him drink the gin. Unless he can project his astral body, he is innocent. I sat down, feeling the exhaustion settle in my bones. The motive was perfect. The opportunity was impossible. People lie, I said, closing my eyes. Cameras lie. Witnesses lie, but biology doesn't lie. What do you mean? I mean we need to look closer at Lucas Vidal, I said. Not the man on the train, the man himself. Who is he? Where does he come from? Because the man I just interrogated was too calm. He was playing a role. And if he was playing a role on the train, then who was playing the role of the killer in the studio? I stood up. Get the car, Mark. We're not going home. I want to see his birth certificate. I want to see his school records. I want to know if Lucas Vidal ever had a shadow. A shadow? He made a joke about a twin, I said, putting on my coat. Criminals love to joke about the truth because they think we're too stupid to hear it. Let's see if he's really as unique as he thinks. The next morning, the sun over Barcelona was bright and unforgiving, but the mood inside the comisaria was pitch black. My chief, Comisario Vargas, threw a newspaper onto my desk. The headline screamed, "Police harass grieving husband." You kept him until 2 a.m., Jordi? Vargas didn't yell. He hissed. That was worse. The man has a digital footprint clearer than the Pope's schedule. We have the train company threatening to sue us for implying their security footage is fake. We have the press calling us incompetent. He did it, Jefe, I said, sipping stale coffee. I don't know how yet, but he did it. You have 24 hours. Vargas pointed a finger at my chest. If you don't bring me something solid, a weapon, a witness, a DNA match, I'm closing this case as a robbery gone wrong, and I'm putting you on administrative leave. Do you understand? Understood. I walked out. The clock was ticking. 24 hours before Lucas Vidal walked away with 4 million euros and a clean conscience. Riera was waiting in the car. He looked tired, dark circles under his eyes. I dug into the archives, Riera said, handing me a tablet. Deep, I bypassed the digital records and went to the scanned microfiche from the hospital in Galicia where Lucas was born 45 years ago. I scrolled through the grainy black and white document. Mother, Maria Vidal. Father, unknown. Date of birth, April 12, 1978. Infant. 1. Lucas Vidal, healthy. Infant 2. Mateo Vidal, healthy. I froze. The world seemed to stop spinning for a second. Mateo, I whispered. He wasn't joking. He has a twin, Riera confirmed, his voice shaking with excitement. Identical, monozygotic. But here's the kicker. Mateo doesn't exist in the modern system. No tax ID, no social security, no address. It's like he vanished. Or he was erased, I said. Look at the notes on the bottom. I squinted at the handwritten scrawl of a nurse from 1978. Infant 2, given to maternal aunt, Carmen Roig, mother unable to support both. They split them up, I realized. Lucas stayed with the mother, went to private schools, married a fashion icon. Mateo went to the aunt, grew up poor. I ran a search on Mateo Roig instead of Vidal, Riera said, starting the engine. He's real, Jordi, and he's not a businessman. He's a petty criminal. Shoplifting, fraud, identity theft. He's been in and out of jail in Zaragoza and Valencia for 20 years. Where is he now? Last known address was a squat in El Raval, 10 minutes from here. Drive, I said. Fast. The Raval district is the dark underbelly of Barcelona's beauty. Narrow streets that smell of urine and spices, laundry hanging from rusted balconies, shadows that seem to move on their own. We kicked in the door of the apartment on the 4th floor. It was a filth hole. Mattress on the floor, empty beer cans, overflowing ashtrays. But on the single rickety chair in the corner, there was something that didn't belong. A suit bag. I unzipped it. Inside was a navy blazer, high quality, expensive, and next to it a receipt from a dry cleaner in Madrid, dated yesterday. He was there, Riera said, looking around the room, but he's gone. He's not gone, I said, pacing the small room. He's laying low, waiting for the payout. I looked at the suit. Then I looked at the picture of Lucas Vidal I had on my phone. Then I looked at the mugshot of Mateo Roig that Riera had pulled up. Same face, same eyes, but different lives. And then it hit me. The oh moment. The realization was so sharp, it almost knocked the wind out of me. Riera, I said slowly, we had it backward. What do you mean? The twin killed her while Lucas was on the train, right? No. I shook my head, my mind racing through the timeline. Think about the psychology. Who hated Elena? Lucas. Who needed the money? Lucas. Who had the rage to strangle a woman with her own scarf and look her in the eyes while she died? Lucas. But the train? Mateo is a con man, Riera. A grifter, I shouted, grabbing the navy blazer. He doesn't have the stomach for murder. He has the stomach for acting. Look at the behavior on the train again. The shouting about the Wi-Fi, the demanding of the manager, the generous tip. It was a performance. He was playing the role of the asshole businessman, Riera whispered. Exactly. Mateo was on the train, wearing Lucas's clothes, using Lucas's credit card, making sure every camera and witness saw Lucas Vidal leaving Madrid. He was the decoy. Which means, Riera's eyes went wide, which means the man we interrogated last night really was Lucas, I said. But he didn't get off the train. He was never on it. He drove here. Or he took a private car. He was in Barcelona the whole time. He killed his wife at 8 o'clock p.m., while his brother was ordering a gin and tonic in his name 300 miles away. It was brilliant. It was the perfect sleight of hand. The police focus on the man on the train, proving he is Lucas. Once that is proven, Lucas is untouchable. But we have a problem, Riera said, deflating. If they are identical twins and Mateo had Lucas's ID and credit cards, how do we prove it was Mateo on the train? DNA will be identical. Fingerprints will be nearly identical unless we get a perfect print. We can't prove who was who. We can't prove it physically, I agreed. The brothers are biological copies, but they are not the same men. I remembered the interview with the steward. He ordered the sandwich. He ate it. Riera, I snapped my fingers. Pull up Lucas Vidal's medical file, the one from his insurance company. Dig deep. Does he have any conditions? Any allergies? Riera tapped furiously on his tablet. Loading, okay, here. Lucas Vidal. High blood pressure. Corrective lenses. Wait. What? Celiac disease, Riera read. Diagnosed 5 years ago. Severe gluten intolerance. If he eats wheat, he goes into anaphylactic shock within 30 minutes. Throat closes up, hives, vomiting. He carries an EpiPen. I smiled. It was a cold, hard smile. And what did the passenger eat on the train at 9 o'clock p.m.? Riera checked the credit card receipt again. The bocadillo de jamón ibérico, baguette bread, wheat. Got him? I said. The man on the train ate bread and walked off smiling. If that was the real Lucas, he would have been carried off on a stretcher. We need to find them, Riera said, before they destroy the evidence. We don't need to find them, I said, heading for the door. Lucas thinks he's free. He's arrogant. He'll be at the only place that matters to him right now. The bank? No, Elena's studio. He's the legal owner now. He's probably measuring the curtains. We found him exactly where I predicted. The sun was setting over Barcelona, casting long, bloody shadows across the Paseo de Gracia. Elena's studio was technically a sealed crime scene, but Lucas Vidal had arrived with a lawyer and a locksmith. When Riera and I stepped out of the elevator, Lucas was standing by the window, a glass of Elena's vintage cava in his hand, looking out at the city like he had just conquered it. He turned when he heard us. He didn't look scared. He looked annoyed, like we were the cleaning staff interrupting a party. Inspector Serra, Lucas smiled, swirling the wine. You're trespassing. My lawyer just filed the paperwork. As the surviving spouse and holder of the founder's shares, I am merely inspecting my assets. Your assets, I repeated, walking slowly into the room. Riera stayed by the door, his hand resting near his holster. The red velvet mannequins were still there, silent witnesses to the murder 24 hours ago. The loan sharks in El Raval will be happy to hear you're solvent again, I said. Lucas's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, then returned. I don't know what you're talking about. Look, if you have an arrest warrant, show it. If not, get the hell out of my studio. I have a company to save. We don't have a warrant for you, I lied, stepping closer. We have a warrant for a man named Mateo Roig. The glass in Lucas's hand stopped moving. The bubble settled. I don't know that name, he said. His voice was too flat, too rehearsed. Don't you? I pulled out the old birth certificate from my pocket and dropped it on the glass desk right next to where Elena's head had lain. Born April 12, 1978. Same eyes, same nose, same DNA. Your twin brother, Lucas, the one you erased. Lucas stared at the paper. His jaw tightened, a muscle jumping in his cheek. So I have a brother. Is that a crime? I haven't seen him in 20 years. If he's in trouble, that's his problem. He was on the train, Lucas, I said softly. I was on the train, Lucas shouted, slamming his glass down. Wine spilled onto the white marble. You have the video. You have the witnesses. Stop trying to twist reality just because you can't solve the case. We know it was a performance, I continued, my voice calm, contrasting his anger. A brilliant one, honestly. The scene with the Wi-Fi, the tip to the steward. It was perfect theater designed to make sure everyone remembered Lucas Vidal was in seat 4A. It was me, Lucas roared. I was there. I believe you think you were there, I said, circling him. But there's a biological problem with your story, a fatal error in the script. I signaled to Riera. My partner stepped forward and placed a plastic evidence bag on the table. Inside was the credit card receipt from the AVE cafeteria car. At 9 p.m., somewhere near Zaragoza, the passenger in seat 4A got hungry, I said. He ordered the bocadillo de jamón ibérico, a classic choice, crusty baguette, wheat flour. Lucas looked at the receipt. He blinked. He didn't understand yet. So what? He sneered. I was hungry. I ate a sandwich. Is that illegal now? For you? Yes, I said. It's a death sentence. I pulled out the final piece of paper, his medical file from the Clinica Sagrada Familia. You were diagnosed with celiac disease 5 years ago, Lucas. Severe grade. Your doctor noted that even cross-contamination causes you violent vomiting and hives. Eating a whole baguette? That would send you into anaphylactic shock. You'd be gasping for air on the floor of that train, not walking off at Sant Station smiling. The room went silent. The hum of the air conditioning seemed to roar. Lucas looked at the medical file, then at the receipt, then at me. The color drained from his face so fast it looked like someone had pulled a plug. He wasn't looking at a police officer anymore. He was looking at the mathematical proof of his own guilt. The arrogance dissolved, leaving behind a terrified small man. He wasn't supposed to eat, Lucas whispered. The words leaked out before he could stop them. Mateo? I pressed. He got hungry, didn't he? It's a long ride. He didn't know about the allergy. He just saw a free meal on your credit card and took it. Lucas squeezed his eyes shut. His hands were shaking violently now. I told him to just drink the gin. I told him to stick to the script. That idiot. That hungry, stupid idiot. You killed her at 8 p.m., I said, closing the distance. You waited until she was on the call, knowing the timestamp would pin it down. You strangled her, then you calmly walked out, drove home, and waited for your brother to deliver the alibi. It was perfect, Lucas, but you forgot that your brother isn't you. He's just a man who wanted a sandwich. Lucas slumped against the desk, the fight leaving his body. He looked at the silk scarf draped over a chair, the murder weapon he had left behind, thinking he was a ghost. It was 4 million euros, he muttered, tears of rage welling in his eyes. I was going to give him 10,000, just 10,000, and he couldn't even skip a meal. Lucas Vidal, Riera said, stepping in with the handcuffs. The metal clicked shut. The sound echoed in the empty studio. You are under arrest for the murder of Elena Valls. As we walked him to the elevator, Lucas didn't look at the view of Barcelona anymore. He looked at the floor. He had traded his wife's life for a fortune, and he had lost it all for the price of a €5 baguette. We found Mateo Roig 2 days later in a hostel in Valencia. He didn't fight. When we showed him the news of his brother's arrest, he actually laughed. He told us Lucas had treated him like a servant his whole life. In the end, Mateo testified against Lucas in exchange for a reduced sentence for fraud. He seemed happy enough. Prison food was free after all. I sat in my office a week later, closing the file. The press had moved on. The high-speed alibi was no longer a mystery. It was just a cautionary tale about biology. I looked at the 2 mugshots on my screen, Lucas and Mateo. Identical faces, one driven by greed, the other by survival. They had tried to cheat time and space. They had tried to be in 2 places at once. It almost worked. I turned off the lights in the office and looked out at the street below. Barcelona was moving fast, a river of red taillights and white headlights. Everyone rushing somewhere, everyone hungry for something. I thought about Elena Valls, dying alone on her floor while her husband's double-drank gin on a train. Physics, I whispered to myself, putting on my coat. Physics always wins.